All right. Okay, thanks everybody. Good morning. As you all know, we have really here online to give us a little demo and a walkthrough. I think Jason, if he waves and says hello, has got a bit of a presentation for us, and we'll take some time towards the end to answer a few sort of Q&As and that kind of stuff. If you have a question in the meantime, please just use the raise your hand feature, and we'll call on you when we see that happen. When you do use your raise your hand feature, you pop up to the top corner of the screen, so we should all see it pretty efficiently. So with that, good morning, Jason. Appreciate you taking the time, and we'll turn it over to you.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Darren. Yeah, so good morning, folks. As Darren was saying, a bunch of you are using the app in the office, which is great to hear. And I would encourage everyone to use the app, and I can kind of show you why I think you should be doing that and how it's going to make your life easier as a realtor. Essentially, everyone's got to do FinTrack. It's everyone's favorite subject to do, right? Talk about. I'm here to try to minimize what kind of pain FinTrack may or may not be giving you. So, and you can do that through the ReallyTrusted app. It is an app on your phone, both for iPhone and Android. And then also we have a web browser version of it as well. So if you just log into, type in the URL, it's app.reallytrusted.com. And just recommend bookmarking that same email password you use on your phone. And so it's kind of nice. Really, you can do everything on your computer if you do enjoy the big screen and the keyboard, which I do. The phone, you can do everything as well. You'd have to obviously type with your thumbs, which some people are better at than others. But really, the phone is most important when you're out in the field and you're scanning your client's ID in person. So you can just grab their ID, scan it, takes 10 seconds, hand it right back to them. And then you can close your phone and then pick up everything where you left off back at your home or office on your computer. So, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So if I could, Darren, if I could just grab the share screen from you.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, hang on a second. There you go.
Perfect. Thanks so much. So there we go. That's the phone. So I have the ReallyTrusted app here. So if I'm out with my client, we're going for coffee, it's time to ID you for FinTrack. I'm just going to open up my app here, click on the button, and then I want to scan it. So I click on the scan button. I'm going to take a picture of the back of the card as such. Make sure it's clear, well focused. If it's super blurry or dark, we can't really do much with it. So do make sure that you have a high quality photo like that one. And then we'll click process or use this photo. It'll process for about 10 seconds, at which point just hand the card right back to the client, say thanks very much. And then while you're doing that, ask them what they do for a living, because you'll have to fill that in your form, and ask them if they're a politically exposed person or head of an international organization. If you need some reference, we do have that in the workflow, but those are the two most important questions. And then you're pretty much done your FinTrack record simply just by scanning that card alone. That's half your record done for you. And you can see in blue that's been saved as a contact for you for later use. And that's it. So again, just by doing that 10-second scan, that's half your FinTrack record already done for you, which I think is pretty cool. So just to show you now, assume I'm on my computer or my phone here, I open up my app later in the day, it's time to finish off the ID record. So I'm going to go into my app here, click contacts, click on my client Santa Claus, who I ID a lot apparently, and then I click on FinTrack. So contacts, name, FinTrack. You're taken to this screen where you can see I've got some green check marks and some red X's. The green check marks are obviously from the ID scan I did already. So I've verified the type of document, the unique identifying number, the expiry, the jurisdiction. I've got the client's name and birth date and their current address as it was printed on the card. So again, that's half the record right there. Now I just want to go and I want to collect missing information and finish off the record and be done with it. So I simply go in here, collect missing information. It's going to ask me to confirm the address. So if they've moved recently and they have the sticker or they disclose that that's no longer their current residence, this is where you would change that. So you would change it here just by simply, clicking down here and 999 or whatever it happens to be. And then we click save. And now occupation, this is where we're going to indicate if they're retired or not retired. Even if they are retired, we still have to indicate what they used to do for a living. So how they, assumed their wealth. So let's say that Santa delivers gifts for a living. But then, oh, the second field comes up and says name of institution, organization, employer. I forgot to ask what company he did that for. So we've built out a little feature here, which will be nice. Skip and collect later. So if you don't know the answer to a certain field, you can still do that in 95% of this record, just skipping this particular one. Yeah, Jack, I got a raised hand here.
Hi, I've met you before, Jason. Thanks for doing this today. I have a lot of clients that are home, like they're mothers and they're at home. So what would I put in for their job? I've been putting like home care. Is that what would you suggest?
If that is their primary job, homemaker or mother,
Domestic engineer is a good one.
domestic engineer. Yeah, and then you could say that. What I would say in that case is, yeah, say that, and then maybe in parentheses say husband is main income earner or something to that effect. Yeah. So I'm going to skip and collect later here, just for now, just to kind of show you that feature. So if I don't know the answer, I can still move on. So let's define the relationship. Are we buying? Are we selling? What type of real estate is this? So residential property for investment purposes, or personal residence or what have you, just indicate that there, click save. And then we're going to be asked about third party. Third party is third party. If you click yes, we'll have a few more questions for you. And then that's it. But really, most of the time, honestly, it's going to be no. This is where that PEP-HIO thing comes in. So we should be asking our clients some version of this question. And you don't have to go onto web forms and get those 2 additional pages anymore. It is just included in the workflow here for you. So that's going to, some people just forget, and that's okay. So don't worry, it's going to be in the workflow. It's going to remind you to do so. And simply we just ask them this question, and if they kind of shrug their shoulders and say, I have no idea what you're talking about, that's fine. And then we've also defined everything here below. So if you want to have like a nice little reference tool to see what your client may or may not be in reference to the definitions for PEP or HIO, it's all here for you. So I've gone through the list. I realized that my client doesn't apply to any of the above, so I just click that button. I did so by asking the individual. You can check the internet, but why not just ask them? And then click save. And then finally, we get to the risk assessment side of stuff. So we're doing this in 3 steps. So number 1, choosing the country of operation, which is Canada. If it's one of the countries that's on the FATF list or Administrative Directives list, countries such as Iran, North Korea, UAE, there are a few countries out there that do get flagged as high risk just based on their money laundering risk and yeah, essentially, without getting too deep into the weeds there. And then down here, we've got 2 other lists. So agent risk assessment of client and suspicious transactions. Simply the first list, just read it. And if anything applies to your clients, that's what we would click. And then the second list, suspicious transactions. So now these are, I will admit, poorly named themes from FinTrack. So you see things like flipping and renovations on that list, and you'll say, Jason, why is flipping considered a risky activity? It's not the way that you and I think flipping is. So if I scroll down to definitions at the bottom, so these are the terms that FinTrack has given real estate specifically as things that we should be aware of or looking for in our transactions. And so flipping in their version of it is buying back of the same property they've recently sold. Not doing the kitchen, and then renovations is if it's disclosure of large cash sums being used to do so. So just let that be known that FinTrack has given these names, but I think they're poorly named. So just check the reference down here, see if anything applies. And this is something that FinTrack really wants us to be looking out for. And in fact, there'll be a couple of penalties that'll be released in the coming months that we know about that are actually considering, because they're actually fines because people are not considering these things, and essentially all their clients are low risk all the time. And that's not to say that our clients may not all be low risk, and that's fine, but really at the end of the day, checking a box that says my client is Canadian isn't really a risk assessment. It's really a disclosure of citizenship. So FinTrack is asking us outside of the CREA form is to say these are actual risk indicators that we need to be educated on and things that we need to be able to look out for. And that's it. It's going to take you 2 minutes, run it through. If nothing really applies, that's great. And then we just indicate that. And then we'll go ahead and click on low risk. If I had checked one of these boxes, the program would lead me to a medium risk. For example, if I checked having not met the client, I've only met my client over Zooey, perhaps. I've never actually shaken their hand. That is not to say that they're not a good person and we shouldn't work with them. It just means that it's just a shade of gray higher than what a low vanilla client would be, you know. So it's just a separate little indication there. In which case, if I would have to call that, if I would try to call that low, for example, it's going to say, oops, something went wrong, because my brokerage, Remax Generation, has indicated one check mark as being medium and 2 or more is high. So in this case, the workflow will ask me to choose as medium here and just give a brief one sentence narrative as to what that is. So Santa lives in the North Pole, moving to Victoria in the fall. There we go. So now I've given an explanation as to why I haven't met my client, and now I can finally click save, and the workflow is going to save that for me. Do I have any questions on that part of the record?
I don't see any hands, and really, you know, for those of you that are, you know, just kind of wondering, this is just the basic 4-page Kriya document that you go through. And the nice thing about the app really is that it prompts you to make sure you ask the appropriate questions, which one, keeps you safe, keeps you on side, and 2, you can't proceed unless you actually complete it properly. So that also helps eliminate the submissions and paperwork that we send back to you when it's missing a field. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you are missing a check mark, let's say, it's going to say, oops, stop what you're doing and please finish this. So again, you're not going to be having to do this form 2-3 times over, because you get it done right the first time. So let's say I talk to my clients again. I remember I forgot to ask them what their occupation was there. So I don't actually have the record done in full. You can see I get the red X there. So simply, I want to go back and same thing I did before, collect missing information, give it a tap. It's going to take me right back to that screen. And again, just to demonstrate, if I'm missing a field and I click save, there's that error message telling me things can't be blank. So I'm going to save you that human error aspect. So we'll say delivers gifts, and he does for a company called Santa Incorporated, our favorite company, and he's not retired. So I click save, and that's it. Finally, I apply transaction address to this. So Santa, we are looking for a place. We don't have a place yet. So I have an address unknown. I click that second blue button, and it's going to populate an unknown address involving my client Santa Claus. So I just select that and I create it. And simply that's it. I now have received a copy in my inbox. The brokerage has also received a copy of it simultaneously. And if you want to have a copy go to your assistant, you can also set that up in your general settings as well. And as 4th copy, if you want to send this over to some form of transaction management software or somewhere where you keep your files, you can plug in the address here as well and send it over. So 1 copy for yourself, 2 copies for the brokerage, 3 for the assistant, 4 to somewhere else.
Jason, a quick question for you.
Please.
Can you import a picture of a driver's license?
So to answer that question, we don't need to. We're not required to keep those photos on hand. In fact, FinTrack has strongly discouraged us from doing so, simply because we're keeping, and this is to the same extent, and I will talk about remote FinTrack as to why we shouldn't be receiving photos of documents via phone or email, because essentially as soon as that photo is on your phone, it's now loaded to the cloud. It is now possibly on your photo reel for who knows how long. Really what FinTrack wants out of these records is the data on the card, so their name, the type of card, that type of stuff, which we got from the scan, but the actual photo itself is not required and actually strongly discouraged from collecting.
Okay, I'm working it backwards. If I've got a photo of somebody, like I've already done that, I've taken a picture of the driver's license, but I didn't use the program. Now I want to use the program. Can I import it in, or do I have to get another picture of their license?
You'll have, yeah, we can't import it because we don't want it. So essentially,
But if,
you can. Sorry.
I think just to follow up on that, Larry, like if you're not with them where you can actually scan it, the remote option will cover that. And I think we're going to get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let me just show you that right now here quickly. So to say that, so if your client's not with you and we want to use the program, Simply we open up and there's this remote FinTrack button here. So if I give that a tap, all I need to do is provide them, I'm going to do someone new, their name and their email. That's all I need. So there's my favorite client again. And then I do need their email. And this can be done both on your phone or on your computer. There we go. And then check your spelling. I always have to check spelling. There we go. So I'll save that. And saved as a contact. You can see it blue at the top. And now I've got this button that says email contact or remote FinTrack request. And that's exactly what I want to do. So I give it a tap. In blue, it will say it's been sent to my contact's email. And that's great. I'm pretty much done until my client does their side of things. So I'll give them a call, let them know that this email is forthcoming and that they should be expecting it. And then if I jump over here to this inbox, this is my client's email. So they receive an email from, looks like you, it's got your name as the sender. And it says, hi, Santa, Jason and his brokerage need to ID you for FinTrack purposes. We're going to ask you to provide 3 photos. We will analyze those photos to make sure that your document is current, valid, and authentic, and then also ask you to take a selfie photo, and we'll compare that with the document to make sure it's your document. And then we only keep those photos for 30 days. So I said that the photos we do receive for vetting, we keep those for 30 days, we process it, make it available to you for 30 days so that if you don't get to the record within the week, that's okay. You have a month to get to it. And then from there, we just proceed. So client will click that, choose a browser to do so in. It's going to explain them one more time. We're asking for photos. Are you providing a card or a passport today? So we'll say I'm doing a card. And then we do give the client some indication. Here's what we're looking for. You know, clean photos, good light, no glare, that kind of thing. So we try to help them as much as possible. End of the day, the better the quality, the more likely we can help you out. If it's dark or blurry, there's not a lot of things we have to be vetting the document for, these hidden secure features, the cards, holograms. So there's a lot of things that take place in this process. So the client will take a picture of the front. I do often recommend to do this like on a flat dark surface near a window, preferably. So you get some nice natural light on the document right there. So we'll say that's a good example of what we're looking for. So we'll use that. And then we submit it. And then it will ask me for the back of the driver's license. So this is where they have that barcode. If you look at your driver's license, that bottom left-hand corner, there's that QR code looking thing. That's actually a barcode. So this is what we're trying to capture. That has all the data on it. So we take a picture of the back as such with my fake driver's license there, and we submit the photo. And then thirdly, it's going to ask me for the selfie. So there we go. My selfie game. There we go. So, and then we submit that image as well. So 3 photos, one of the front, one of the back, and then a selfie. And then the client will get a green check mark saying the submission's been received. It's currently being processed by our systems. And then you as the agent will get an email from ReallyTrusted with these submissions. So if I were to, I'm just going to pop back to my computer.
I think too, just to follow up or expand,
please.
if I can, you know, when you're having conversations with your clients who are unsure and they're trying to wrap their head around like this remote FinTrack type process, it's not unlike depositing a check in your bank account, more or less. So if they're wondering how it's going to work, it's pretty much a very similar process as a bank deposit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's pretty much, do that above the check and send it in, and money pops into my account. It's lovely. I don't send them any money when they do FinTrack, though. I apologize. There'll be no money sent to your clients. So as the agent now, I received an email from ReallyTrusted. It says action required remote FinTrack submission. So I give it a click and it says, hi, Santa submitted their ID, reviewed it, tap to review. And it will tell me, sorry, this one's been rejected, but I think that should be good for good reason. Clearly, I'm not Santa Claus and I'm using a very fake document today. We debated whether I should start using my real thing just to show you how it will work, but then everyone in the country would know where I live. So I opted against that. So if we go down here, you can see that we collected all of the data from that back barcode that I was referring to. So that's what that's from. And then I can look at the 3 photos that my client submitted to me. So there's the front of the card. So I tap that and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look like a real ID. That's suspicious. And then we check the back. Okay, that also looks like a fake card. I can see why this didn't work. And then lastly, that guy doesn't look like that guy. So again, it's really failed on two fronts. One is that we're checking the card for security features, making sure it's current, valid, and authentic. And so it's failed there, obviously. And then the second test is comparing through facial recognition, the selfie photo to the ID photo, which again is not passed. But if you would like to, at any point, try this on yourself, which is so much fun. Just come over, click on home, click on remote FinTrack. Oh, actually, sorry, I should say you try to do this in demo mode, which I forgot to mention at the top. So demo mode, if you go into profile, click on demo mode and then confirm. This green box shows up, and this will allow you to practice using the app without actually hurting anybody. So you can send this to yourself. You can try scanning on your own driver's license. This will produce a record, but it'll say demo on it. It's not a real document. So it's kind of a nice way to just kind of practice these functions on your own. And so go ahead and FinTrack yourself. And it's a great Saturday night activity with your family and friends. Give it a try. Yeah, so try the remote feature on yourself. You'll see what the client experiences is, and then also get to see it actually working in functionality, because it'll be a real card with a real person. Yeah, I did a lot of talking about how to create this record, but I think what the most powerful thing about it is that you get to see how quickly you can do this. And I just wanted to bring that home one more time. So if I were to open up my app here, I've got my phone, I've got my client's ID. Right now, your current process, if you're not using the app, is writing all this stuff down. Maybe you make a mistake, you switch the expiry number and the unique identifying number, you misspelled their name, things happen. The good news about if you're scanning the card, you're getting clean data into the record every single time, and it takes you a fraction of the time as well. So if I just go in here, I want to take a picture. It's going to scan that, it's going to process that for 10 seconds, hand the card back to the client. Again, it's going to save you a lot of time. The good news too is that once the stuff is in the system, you can go back and use it for later transactions as well. And I'll show you that briefly. So I go here, I confirm the address for my client. He still lives there, great. I get to occupation. He's going to serve cocoa for Santa Incorporated. Great, so I've got occupation now. Purchasing of residential property for personal residence. Great, so I save that. No third party is involved in my transaction. Not a politically exposed person or the head of an international organization. And operating this business out of Canada, and no trans risk indicators noted. Therefore, my client is low risk. And I save. And then simply, I just want to say maybe he's buying 123 Smith Road in Vancouver, and create the record. And that's it. So that's my entire FinTrack record done in less than 1 minute. So I did just want to really bring that home to kind of show you how quickly and how easily this can be done. And then on top of that, so I can now show you that record I just did right there. So there's Santa for 123 Smith Road. He serves cocoa for Santa Inc. This, all the information is there for you. And this is the document. It's a 4-page ID record, including PEPHIO. So again, no additional pages needed from web forms. And so there's PEPHIO right down here on page 3. And that's it. And then a little bit here down the bottom. I did mention, say, Santa, we were looking for a place. We had an unknown transaction address for this particular one. 4 weeks go by. Actually, hopefully it's shorter because of the market. We have now found a place. So I want to go back into my record here. So I click on my client. I click on FinTrack. I've got everything here. Everything looks good. I can update occupation. I can update third party. I can update anything I'd like to. But really, I just want to apply a new transaction address with a known address now. So let's say we looked for 333 Douglas in Victoria. Oops. Great. So then we save that. It now shows up on my list and I create the record. So simply I can keep all the work I did from before and just tweak that transaction address and pump it out again. Why do it all over again if you don't have to? And that's it. Again, another copy of my inbox, another copy for the brokerage, copy for my assistant, what have you.
This whole process too is very repetitive, and so once you start using it, it's just going to get easier and easier and easier. And for those of you, here, and even those of you that are going to watch this later, we have never once rejected a really trusted FinTrack document.
Got that stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Can I ask, we have to still download the forms to Matrix though?
To Matrix, sorry, Robin, what was that?
We still have to download the forms to Matrix?
Not to Matrix. No, you would still submit them to transaction desk.
Or sorry, transaction desk, yeah.
Yes.
So they don't
Yeah,
automatically go there.
No.
No, so what I was showing over earlier, so once I get to this screen and I've sent it off, I get a copy, brokerage gets a copy. If you have to send it to transaction desk, this is where you would plug in that email address. So if your address is 333douglas@transactiondesk.com or whatever the email is, you can plug it in there.
Robin, for you, for being part of the team, this is where you would add Randy as an administrator, and then he would get a copy of it sent to him also. Or you would add Randy as your team administrator in the settings.
Yeah, profile, general settings, assistant copies, you can enter their email there and then save. And then any copy you receive as the agent, they also get copied on that as well. Yeah. So that's kind of FinTrack ID records. So that's the in-person scanning, the remote scanning, which I really do encourage you to try, because even if they're in town and you just don't want to leave the house, send them a remote FinTrack. It's okay. It's compliant in every way, and it's going to get the job done. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper than hiring a mandatory, for sure. Yeah. Receipt of funds as well, also tied in with the ID records. Our corporate ID is also becoming later in the summer, which we're really excited about. So stay tuned for that announcement, probably sometime in late July, August, just in time for back to school. So if I want to create a receipt of funds or a ROFR, I simply click on the button, create a ROFR. Let's say I'm doing one for this 333 Douglas we were talking about earlier. So I hit select. And then since I've already marked my client as associated with that transaction, he already shows up here as a potential funding contact. So again, all the work is done for you. And if you obviously need to do an ID record before you can do a receipt of funds record. And so the system will remind you to do that as well. So make sure that you are IDing somebody before you take large sums of money from them. Yeah, so that's done. And then we go to the next step. Fund details, how much money is on that check. Please do not use the $sign. We do default to Canadian funds, so the $sign could mean USD. So just make sure that if it's Canadian funds, just make sure it's, just as such, and then we will actually do the rest for you. So there you can see it now, it's Canadian dollars. Certified check in person for deposit purchase, today's date. Pretty straightforward stuff. Then you get to the fourth section, source of funds. Now, this is where we think this is a cool little feature. Funds are being received from my client. Now, you can ask them for that void check information. We're just simply asking for institution name, account number, transit number. Some people feel like that's a bit of an awkward conversation, and it is. So either you can ask for that information yourself and put it there. They can actually refuse to provide source of funds, which they're also entitled to. But if you would rather have them provide that in an indirect way to you, this is where this comes in handy. So similar to the remote FinTrack aspect where we get the client to do the work for you, this is the same thing. So as long as we have their email, ReallyTrustedClient@gmail.com. So as long as I have his email, I can click this button that says send an email to my client. So I'll click on that. It's been emailed to my client now. And so if I switch hats, and I'm going to go back and jump into my client's email, and it just might take a minute. Usually the mornings are a little busy on the server. There it is. So client gets this and it says, please provide source of funds. So the client will do this for you, answering the following questions. What generated these funds? Santa sold some reindeer today. He's got a BMO account at 123 Main Street in Victoria, BC. There's his transit number. It's usually 5 digits, and then an account number, usually 7 to 13, I think. Type of account, probably savings, and hopefully in his name. And that's all the information we are asking. Some people do find it a bit invasive, but this is what FinTrack wants to see it from us. So instead of you asking for them directly, just send them this email, and then they get to do the work for you, which makes your life easier. When they are done, the link will be severed. And then as the agent, I have now received an email from ReallyTrusted saying source of funds has been provided. So I click on that, open the link, gives me an opportunity to review what my client has submitted. Make sure you do look at it. If it has a bunch of zeros and X's, we probably know that's not accurate. So, do give it a once over and make sure everything looks good to you. And then we click continue. And then there's a quick little two question risk assessment, observations of money laundering or terrorism financing or misrepresentation of funds, hopefully not. So we click no, and we click continue. And that means we've done all 5 of our steps, and we get a big green button that we can click. And that means that we are done our receipt of funds record. Again, I get a copy, assistant, brokerage, transaction desk,
So
whatever it happens to be. Yeah.
If a parent is helping with the down payment, they have to be FinTrack too as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, because they're the one providing source of funds. Yeah, and here's the receipt of funds record I've received now from ReallyTrusted. It's a 2-page document with everything you could possibly want. And that's it.
And I will highlight again that we as an office have never rejected a receipt of funds created by ReallyTrusted.
Yes, thanks, Darren. Yeah, it's rubber stamp it with all of our will.
FinTrack is one of those things in the office that we often, like, that's one of those regular things that we're kicking back for corrections or missing information or something like that. And really the beautiful part about this is it walks you through the process of completing all the required steps, all that's required of you before you submit it. So it's much more efficient than having to, look at the rejection, find out why, redo it, resubmit it. Like this, it's just a great tool to help everybody, make it easier for them.
Here's hoping. Just got to try it. So again, put yourself in demo mode, give it a go. Yeah. What's the harm in that? Yeah. So that's kind of FinTrack in a nutshell. As I mentioned, corporate ID is coming later this summer, so stay tuned for that. We also like to advertise 2 other cool things. So we actually started the company as a BCFSA or formerly Rec BC disclosure company. So we did the DORTS and the privacy notice consent and all the other required forms, expected remuneration to seller. We did that for about the first year, and then obviously only applicable in BC. And then we also realized there was a lot of issues with the FinTrack process. So that's kind of how we ended up in FinTrack nationally. But since we already built out all this BC disclosure stuff, we kept it. And it's, as a BC company, you just have access to this, all these modules, which is just an added bonus, really. This allows us to be a great KYC product for you. So you can actually do a FinTrack, you can send a DORT, and you can send a privacy notice of consent, all from the program. And you can have your client sign it in person or remotely as well. So simply, if I were to go in today and I got a new client, so I'm going to just create a new client today. So I'm going to email Darren. Oh, you only got 2 R's in your name, right, Darren? There you go.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, not 3. Okay. So here's this email, reallytrustedclient@gmail.com. Great. Again, do check your spelling. Sometimes they're like, my client didn't get it. And then I have them check the email, and it's .con or something to that effect. So, so great. So I've created this client. I want to FinTrack him. So I click FinTrack, I click remote FinTrack, and I click email. So I've already sent him that FinTrack request where he can do it himself. I come back here. I want to also send him a DORT. So I indicate he's a client. I can put down the partner's name here if needed, and then click send create. And then finally, I go back into my home screen. My client, Darren, needs a privacy notice of consent. So I indicate his name, his partner, if needed, and then send create. So in 30 seconds, I could send them a remote FinTrack request, a DORT, and a privacy, all that can be signed on their end without using web forms. And if I just jump over here, you can see that's what my client is seeing now. I've got an ID document request, that's the remote FinTrack, DORT, and privacy. So DORT also includes the clause about the first point of contact for rescission, because we updated those forms in January so that everything is as it should be. Privacy notice of consent here. So client clicks this, we allow them to kind of read over our readable version of that form. And then they can read all this stuff. They have an opportunity to opt out of A, B, C, or D. So, we're going to opt out of C, we're opt out of D, perhaps. It's stricken. And then finally, the client can sign remotely. I do recommend like a touch screen, just so you can, or a stylus, so you can actually have a prettier signature than what I'm doing. Tap when done. And then essentially, I now get a copy of that, as does my brokerage, as does my assistant, of that DORT. And it'll pop up, oh, sorry, privacy notice consent, sorry. So there, if I open up that form, this again is the new form as of January as well, updated. We've got a signature on page 1, or initial. We've got initials on C and D, which they indicated here. And then we've also got their name and signature and all that good stuff at the bottom. And yeah, so same thing applies for DORTs. Privacy notice of consent. We've even put rescission on there as well, everyone's favorite subject. So if you do ever need to hit a notice of rescission, you can do so here. You can also calculate deadlines. So if I say the accepted date was July, I could even do this into the future. So July 6th is the acceptance date. I could then see the range of dates as we've calculated. So it's excluding holidays and weekends. So you can find out what your 3-day range is on rescission. Also, in turn, if you want to find out what that rescission amount is, that little tiny amount. So we click on quick commission calculator if the amount is $650 there. So then we've also indicated the home buyer's rescission period rescission amount for you. So again, you find out your deadline, you can find out the rescission amount, and then ultimately you come into here. And then if you want to create it, if you need to create a, you don't want to, but if you have to create a rescission amount, notice of rescission, essentially it's just a bunch of names and emails. So we will need to send that out to everybody who needs to see it, and that's including the buyers, listing agents, all these things. And then we do send that along with a red request receipt, which is required. So you can obviously do with the snail mail side of things, but then if we do it with email, it has to be sent with a red receipt request. And they don't have to send that red receipt to you, but as long as we are sending it to them initially, then we're staying compliant. Which sometimes a lot of email providers used to do that back in the early days of Hotmail, but not so much anymore. It's not as required as people think it is. So what we can say, if you are doing rescission using ReallyTrusted, guaranteed you're going to be compliant, because we do follow. We've actually built that into the workflow for you. Yeah. Also, a fun little form. We call it created a CONR, or confirmation of non-rescission. So you can actually click on this and it's not a required form. It's just something that we kind of made up, but we found it would be useful to say, here's a piece of paper that we want the buyer side to sign, just to say, listen, no rescission here, we're good to go, green light. And again, it's not a required form, but some people just prefer to have that little extra of safety net, I suppose. So we can send this on an acceptance date. It'll send that off at the appropriate time, and then the buyer can choose to or not sign this confirmation of non-rescission, which just gives you a little extra written security as to the status of the transaction.
Hey, Jason, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, with regards to I was trying it out here and on the training mode, and I assumed it said I was going to get an email, but I didn't. So it just kind of showed up all on the screen, still in demo mode. I didn't get an email link sent to me. So is that the way it is?
So it'll email to the email that you created the account with. So is that a different
Okay, I
email?
just assumed it sent it to me automatically. I don't think I put an email in there. I just thought it would auto send to me in demo mode.
Yeah, so it does send to you, but whatever email you created the account
Okay.
with, that's
All right.
it kind of reflects it back to that account.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. The last thing I want to show you folks, obviously we got unrepresented parties and residential tenancies here, but those are less frequently used forms. What the coolest thing that Greg tells people, he's very proud of this, it was really the main reason he started this company, was to get this disclosure of expected remuneration for payment, just make it easier, especially in a multiple situation. So we're going to go through and I'll show you how, I'm not sure how long it takes you to currently do this process, but I guarantee this is the fastest way you can get this done in this province. And if you can prove me wrong, I will buy you a drink. I'll come over to Victoria and I'll buy you a drink. So we're going to click on the listing here. So let's say we'll stick with that 333 Douglas that we were working with before in Victoria. Oops, if I could spell. BC. Actually, I'm just going to spell that out just to be compliant. They really do like you to spell things out. Sally Seller is my client's name, and here is her email at gmail.com. Check spelling. Consumer number 2, partner, children, whoever else is going to be on title for this transaction. This can all be here. You can enter the transaction for transaction desk if you want to have things go over there. And then here is your commission calculation. So we do default this in your general settings. When you set up a new account, it will ask you to put this stuff in, and this is where this comes into play. So yes, just making some stuff up here. Okay, folks. So this is where you can enter all that information and then save that for this particular listing, because we will do the math for you, which is where it comes important. So I've set my commission calculation. I've got my property, my seller's name, their email, everything looks good. And so I can just submit this listing. So that's the hardest part about it, really. Just name, email, commission calculation, you're done. And then now offer day comes, and I'm going to start create some of these derps or dozers or whatever you want to call. So we're going to go for 333 Douglas. Someone new has made an offer today. Let's say it's Bob the buyer, represented by ABC Realty. Oops. Offer date, today's date, and let's say it's 560. Okay, so, and again, the math is done here for you because we already pre-populated that. So we just hit send create, and that's my first disclosure done. I can then go back and create another one for someone new. Someone new made an offer. It's going to be Darren. Again, why do I want to do 3 R's? That's very weird. Represented by XYZ Realty. Great. And so he's going to offer 575. Whoops, not million. Math is done for you. Send create. Number 2 is done. Then we get to like a counter offer situation. Great, no problem. So I want to do a new one. Bob has put in a counter. That's going to populate in column 2 for you. So the good news, we've already got his name, we've already got his brokerage, that's already saved. So then we just say, okay, he's going to put in 586. No problem, send create. And finally, Darren's just biting to get this place. So he puts in a counter, got his name, I've got his brokerage. Let's call it 620. Big jump, send create. All right, so all that's done. So we're simply just entering their name, their brokerage, the math is done for you, and send it off to the client. And the client will thank you because they've now opened up their inbox and they see all these offers that are coming in. They get very excited. What's the most important one is the last one, obviously. So Sally's going to click on this. You've got an offer for 333 Douglas. There we go. We've kind of summarized the commissions here for you as well. This is the potential buyer's name. This is the brokerage, some information on that. And then essentially when she's read it, she can sign it, tap when done. And then as the agent, I will be receiving that signed DERP or disclosure of expected remuneration for payment from ReallyTrusted. There it is. So there is the BCFSA form that we all know and love. And there are my calculations, with the math done for me and their signature.
Sorry, where'd you go to get that completed document? Sorry, Jason.
Just my email.
Comes to your email.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And now, did we find out with Robin's question, is it something we can just type in an email address for to be uploaded to Transaction Desk, or do we file save it PDF and upload it that way, I guess?
Yeah, so you can do it. When I first set up the listing, there was an opportunity for me to enter something there. So I'll show it one more time. So if I went to listings,
Just never done it. I've never done it via electronic connection from,
Sure.
to transaction.
yeah, no problem. So I'll do 5, just make some stuff up here. So that's, I think, the property address, my consumer name, and then here, if I want to enter that Transaction Desk email, I plug it in here, and then anytime I receive copies, it also gets sent off the Transaction Desk.
I've never seen that link, the transaction management email.
No,
Address.
there's an administrative one and conveyancing one. I think though, Brad, I think where you're going with this is what's the easiest way to get it into Transaction Desk.
Yeah.
So when you have your Transaction Desk open, you got the email and it has a PDF copy to attached to the email.
That's what I thought.
when
Okay.
if you open up your Transaction Desk and you click the button to, add the disclosure of expected remuneration, you can just drag the PDF directly from the email and drop it into Transaction Desk.
Okay, drag and drop. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, we built out that additional email field from a client of ours, and they just really wanted it. So we built it, and it was built, so we just have it there. But yeah, drag and drop is just as easy.
It's a really good option for teams that have administrators that handle a lot of their paperwork. A lot of the independent realtors, they'll manage their own paperwork and stuff like that. But sometimes we have teams or larger groups that all utilize an assistant that does paperwork submission and that kind of stuff. So
that's it, folks. That's kind of Really Trusted in a nutshell. So again, FinTrack, ID records, scanning, remote scanning, receipt of funds, DORTs, privacy, rescission, non-rescission, expected remuneration for sellers. All that can be found on this one page, and it can be accessed on your computer at app.reallytrusted.com. If you have any questions, or the help section is pretty robust, my team leads it, so unless we're all on sales or training calls, we're really responsive. If we can't get back to you within a couple of hours, we'll definitely get back to you within a 24-hour period. Absolutely, every time.
Jason, just for a follow-up, looking at the screen that you have here, like your agent webinar, your videos, like if you clicked on videos, is there a list of videos really that sort of highlights frequently asked questions type things, or?
Yeah, we do need to give this a bit of a tweak. This is my summer project, is to kind of improve upon our help section. We've actually put out so much new product, that we haven't been able to keep our help videos up to date. So that's what I'll be shooting, some fun help videos, but also in turn, the Academy program that I think Greg might have talked to you about. So that's also been another focus of our teaching and training, and using that platform.
Awesome.
So that's separate. Yeah. But if you want, the agent webinar is a great place. You can register live the third Thursday of the month, which will be July 20th, or honestly, just watch the recording here. You can hear me talk about FinTrack for an hour, which you've pretty much done already today. But if you loved it so much, you can do it again. Yeah, help section, contact us, phone, email is there for you. And yeah, that's about it. Any questions, folks?
Anybody, everybody clear? All good?
That's cool. Thank you.
We're gonna have
that was really
100%.
helpful. Yeah.
Gonna have a
Thank you.
100% FinTrack record moving forward.
Thank you, Jason.
It's open. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Jason, doesn't look like we have any other further questions, so we'll let you get back to your day job, and which is continuing to develop and improve this, but really appreciate you taking the time to come join us. And hopefully, you know, I'm sure we'll see you again in the future. And yeah, if we have any questions, obviously, you know, we can reach out and I can help point you guys in the right direction. But please do, you know, get on board and start using this, because it really will. The amount of time that you put in initially just to get fluent with it will save you tons and tons of time down the road. It is great.
Great.
So yeah,
Thanks
thanks,
for the
Jason. I appreciate your time.
support. I appreciate it, Darren. Yeah.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Okay,
All right.
everybody, with that, any final thoughts?
Thanks for having it. It was good.
Yeah, that was good, and it shows us how we can easily practice and get even more familiar with it.
Yeah, and really that's the key. Like I said, you know, once you use it, you know, we log into Matrix and we do regular things on a daily basis. That is just, you know, click, click, click in 3 seconds, because it's so familiar. And this app and this tool, once it becomes that familiar as well, it'll just do nothing but save you time and frustration, because it'll make sure that all your documents are completed properly.
Darren, just one more time, where did you say this video could be found again to watch 10 more times?
So this recording will upload to our Remax Generation YouTube channel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds great.
Have you got a link for that? Well, I'll resend it. Once I upload it, I'll resend it to everybody in my email update.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.